Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Apologies. All right. We're having fun here. We're doing our thing. You know, when you move offices, things happen, things work, things don't work, whatever. We're going to roll with it because I am so excited for tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is an actor who was born and raised in the great state of Massachusetts. After receiving his BFA from the Sonny Purchase Acting Conservatory, he was cast in the off Broadway premiere of Lost and Guided. Shortly thereafter, he moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in film and television. It was there he was cast in the Lifetime movie Killer Caregiver, the hit biblical web series The Chosen, and is possibly best known for playing Behrad Tazari on the hit CW show DC's Legends of Tomorrow. But guys, he is so much more than that. He's also an accomplished singer musician who plays a variety of instruments, including guitar, bass, piano. God forbid I can not pronounce this, dulcimer, and the shruti box. God, I hope I'm saying that right. In December of 2020, he released his first single, I Fall to Pieces Without Falling Apart, on streaming platforms now. His new single, Tony, is also available now. So everyone, please give a superhero's welcome to our guest tonight, the amazing Shayan Sobhian. I think we did it. I think we did it. Did we do it? Did we do it? Son of a gun, I lost him. All that. And I lost our guest. We're going to get him back, guys. We're going to get him back. I promise. He's reconnecting right now. Tonight's been a tough night. I'm not gonna lie. It's been one for the ages. I'm not sure. I can see he's trying to connect. I can literally see he's trying to connect. And let me try. I try doing this. So I'm gonna pad for time here, guys. God bless you. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I don't know why this is happening. I really don't. Everything should be working fine. All right.
Hello.
Here we go. Can you oh, let's see. I think you can hear me. And let's see, try this. All right. You got me now, bud?
I got you now.
Oh man. It's a night. You know what? Screw it. We're live. Let's go with it.
Let's go. This is part of it.
I promise I read this amazing intro for you. It was incredible. Everyone loved it. They clapped, they cheered.
Oh,
There were
fantastic.
roses were thrown at the screen.
Beautiful.
So we're gonna roll with it. Thank you, Shayan, for being on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Like I said before, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing, and I just am so happy to be here. And like, let's just talk. Let's hang out. Like,
Yeah.
how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm having a difficult night. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to be with you in the fire without getting burned. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I
Like,
appreciate that. I
I'm
appreciate
here
that.
with you, holding the space, but it's hard. It's hard, like, through the technology and whatnot, but, we're adapting, right?
Yeah, but dude, you look phenomenal. You look great. The people are in the chats already excited to see you. I mean, there's so much I want to talk about. There's so much I want to cover. Which, first of all, you did mention because you name dropped a previous episode of mine, and I blushed. I literally turned a shade of pink to think that you like looked me up. How dare? First of all, how dare you, sir? All right, you come on my show and you're gonna background check me? Okay, all right.
Okay, if it makes you feel any better, I literally did it 5 minutes ago. I guess now 20 minutes ago. I was like, it was one of those things where I I had wanted to do it. I like to know who I'm talking to.
Sure.
And I had a little bit of time, but I was early, which is a first, getting ready for this. And then I was like, let me just see what's going on? And the first one is like beautiful voiceover booth. The sound is perfect. I'm like, oh, I gotta like at least set up a microphone here or something. But so this is my I'm in. You said you were in a new studio.
Yeah.
I'm also in a new studio. I'm still setting it up. I've got sound blankets here that I gotta like put on the walls and everything. So
Mm.
it's a work in progress. But yeah, I've been making music in here. That's something I've been doing in my time off.
I'm so excited. So, okay. So, first question out the gate, I give it the same question to everybody. What is your military connection? Obviously, I know you didn't serve. Do you have family that served, friends that served, or are you just big military supporter?
I had my mom's dad was in the army in World War II. He passed away when I was 1, so I never really got to talk to him about it. Or truthfully, I never got to talk to him about it. There was some lap sitting and some. I'm sure I threw up on his back a few times, but other than
Right.
that, we didn't have much contact. But I remember one of my most prominent images of him is him out in some wilderness, wearing his army fatigues, and he just looked so happy. It was something where he was like really, and it's funny too because my wife's grandfather also served in World War II, and my father-in-law says that the way he talks about serving in that war in particular, it was like unlike anything else because the people who the him and his buddies who he made while he was overseas, they went through something that nobody else in the world went through. They went through that together, and it was so unique and it was so bonding in that way where my father-in-law has sometimes said that he remembers his father talking about those times as like in some ways some of the.
Oh, God bless. Yeah, we lost him. I mean, I got you. I got you. That was we. Oh, we can see you too, and I don't think he can hear us. Can you hear me?
Oh, now yeah. What keeps happening is your video goes away,
Oh,
and I'm still. Everything. Okay, it was just like a pause. I was about to text you.
I'm so sorry, man. I don't know what is going on with the connection or what. This never happens. I swear to you.
Is it me? Maybe it's me? Maybe it's my
Oh,
connection.
I mean, I wouldn't say, I won't say that, but I mean, this never happens. I never
It's
have
not.
these
Yeah.
performance issues. I swear to you,
This never happens.
this never
I'm on
happens.
full bars. Let's just keep trudging
Yeah.
through.
Well,
But basically, yeah, I can kind of wrap it up. Like I have no, I didn't serve like you said, but I definitely, it's been like the backdrop of some of my family. It hasn't not been present, in the history of my family.
that's awesome. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we appreciate his service. They're the greatest generation. All
Hmm.
my generation reveres those guys for what they did and laid the foundation for what we do.
Mm.
So let's get to know you for as long as we have you. Let's get to know you a little bit better. So you grew up and went to school in Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
That's right.
Your father is Iranian. Your mother
That's right.
is of Russian Jewish descent.
Hmm.
Um, that isn't the typical picture I would imagine of Massachusetts family. What was that like for you growing up in that locale?
That's a good question. Yeah, I was definitely a bit of an outsider. I had a different name. Usually I remember the first time I was playing soccer as a kid. I guess like everyone plays soccer when they're 5. I feel like you're like on the orange team or the blue team. I think we were on the orange team, and I was put into the girls' soccer league because of my name. They thought I was Cheyenne, which is spelled Cheyenne usually, or some variation of that. But they were like, "Oh, Cheyenne must be a girl," and that was like the first. I was like, "Uh oh." If this is happening now, I had that awareness as a 5-year-old. I was like, if this is happening now, this is going to happen for the rest of my life. But that kind of I kind of rolled with it, and I speaking of adapting, I adapted, and I knew that, when the teacher paused in the roll call, that she was, or he was probably getting to my name because they didn't know how to pronounce it. So that was like a big thing right out the gate. But I love my name. It means worthy in Persian, which is pretty powerful, I think. And yeah, it was, there was also like a lot of positives too, being the only person of Persian descent, because there were some like Russian Jews around that wasn't as unique. But I remember there was an assignment in elementary school where we had to bring in like a potluck. We had like a international day, and everybody had to bring some food from their heritage. And it was a lot of like Italian and Irish, some Polish, some German. But that's like, that's a lot of white people food. It's not a lot of variety of spice and flavor. And so we brought in this authentic Persian dish called khoresh badamjun, which is an eggplant and lamb stew served over rice. And people just went crazy for it. They were like, "What is this?" Because they never had Persian food before, and it's so good. So it was in some instances it was a little challenging, and some was actually kind of cool to like be the person to share this.
You were the token person to bring
I was.
culture and outsidely influence to this little small town or whatever.
Totally. Totally.
Um, what are you a nerd for? Right? I know you're into music. I know you,
Mhm.
you do the acting. Outside of that, what are like where's your nerd freak flag fly?
Ooh, okay. To go outside of music is a tricky ask, because that's definitely like where my nerddom goes the deepest.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about like comparing different performances of Led Zeppelin's Kashmir, like the 1979 Nebworth England performance, or are we talking the O2 Arena reunion with Jason Bonham, John Bonham's son? But outside of music, I'm a big nerd for like farming stuff. I used to work on a farm,
Okay.
and I worked for this genius farmer who we would walk through the fields, and he'd be like, "That's lady's thumb weed. That's a boron accumulator. That means the soil's low on boron. We got to add boron to it." Kind of all that, like really like one with the land, limping along, because he had so much, he had trouble walking. And but he was just this like, I really felt like he was one with the land. And I totally started nerding out on like different plants and how to balance soils. And I did it for 3 summers. That was what I did in between years at acting school. It was like the perfect yin yang balance.
I read too that you're big into history as well.
Yeah, where'd you read that?
Really? Okay. All right. I swear I read it. I read it. Okay.
I maybe I mean the thing, it's funny. The thing about, I think, a lot of actors, like that a lot of actors can relate to, is that we kind of wanted to be everything
Hmm.
when we were growing up. Like there was a period where I wanted to be a paleontologist and dig up dinosaur bones. There was a period where I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to do so many things. And I think one day I realized, hey, if I'm an actor, I could potentially do all of those things. And so, yeah, I think there has been a time in my life where I've been interested in history. I mean, to be fair, I did just for fun this morning start watching the Ken Burns documentary, The West.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but
Hmm.
it's like all about the history of exploring the West. Which, it's funny, in the beginning they're like, to the people, to some people it was the North, to some people it was the South, some people it was even the East. Only us Americans were like, that's the West.
Fair point.
So
Fair point.
yeah, so I guess I do like history. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What do you let us know? What are you watching right now? Well, I mean, you kind of just did.
I
But
kind of did. Yeah.
what are you listening to right now? What are you into?
I can tell you what I'm watching too if you want. It's kind of related. Have you seen 1883?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of fans of
Oh,
that. Yeah.
oh yeah. Just finished that with my wife. We hadn't seen Yellowstone yet, so we're kind of going in chronological order.
Mm.
But yeah, it was intense, really. And I loved playing Oregon Trail as a kid too. So I was like, oh man, this is what it was like. Okay, there's only so much you can convey in those little slides in the
Sure.
game. Like this is crazy. Um, but I actually there was an actor I worked with on The Chosen who was on 1883, and it was fun to see him in that world. He was one of the travelers, the foreign travelers. He made it pretty far to the end, so I was proud of him.
You're rooting
Um,
for him.
his name is Jordan Ross, and he also has a great podcast called "What's Your Limp?" In case anyone is
Nice.
interested. That was a very impromptu plug. I haven't spoken with this guy in years. Hi, Jordan, if you're listening.
He appreciates it. He does.
Yeah. What I'm listening to, I am pretty much always listening to classic rock. You know, I have like my that's like my comfort food. Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Who, Rolling Stones, Beatles. But I've been there's one song that I'll just share that I've been listening to on repeat. It's called "Deep in Love" by Bonnie Light Horseman.
Okay.
They're kind of like a folk super group, and this one song just got me. It's super mellow, super clean, and yeah, it's like a really good acoustic jam. So if you're into
Nice.
that, I highly recommend.
Oh, we're gonna check it out, man. We're gonna play it as a group. We'll listen in.
Oh, okay, all right.
I did my homework. I checked in. So I read that the movie School of Rock
Oh
was
yeah.
very formative for you, and I was wondering if you could explain like what was it about that movie that kind of ignited that passion within you.
Seeing those kids who I was that age when I saw the film. So I was seeing myself who was, interested in music. I'd taken some, I guess, guitar lessons, but it wasn't like, it was like classical guitar, like those kids. That was part of it. It's like these kids who were learning classical music
Mm.
got to play rock music, and they got to learn like I think I watch the film like maybe like once every few years just as a refresher, but I think there's so many lessons in it about being true to yourself, and also standing up for yourself, and also like true creative expression and how powerful that can be. And I got the bug. I saw that, and I was sold by what Jack Black was selling essentially, which is that rock and roll is the greatest music of all time. I was like, yeah, sign me up. I'm all about that.
Mm.
And then I started taking bass lessons shortly after. That was my instrument of choice to like venture into the rock world. I think my dad said something like guitar is super overdone, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll do bass then. But then of course I ended up learning guitar anyways because I wanted to. I started writing my own songs, and then I taught myself keyboards as well. So that really just set into motion my passion for music, which laid the foundation for my passion for theater in high school. So I was really into music in middle school, and then in ninth grade, I did my first play, and I made the transition from music to acting. And music kind of took a backseat for really until very recently,
Right.
when now I've had time again. Excuse me. And I've been so fortunate that I've been getting to explore my music again. I love it. It's like it's a passion, and like it's funny acting. It still feels like it's a battle. It's like I have to like really work. It does not come naturally. It does not come easily. I love it, and I love making a living from it. But you put an instrument in front of me, and music comes out. And it's like you put a script in front of me. I'm like, oh, okay, like let me figure this out. And it's just interesting how that works out.
Yeah. Hey, I all the time I tell the kids out there, you can do something that you get paid really well to do, or you can do something that you're very passionate about and love. It's very rare that we get to kind of make those worlds, cross
Super
over.
rare, super rare. That's why I feel so blessed that I've been able to do that. And I think there's like a lesson there for me too. There were so many times when I was like, oh, I just want to get back to music. Like, oh, I'm still in this like acting path thing. Like when, and just it's always going to be there. It's if you're someone who like has a passion, it's like don't worry. It's the time will present itself, and it's better to wait for the right time than to try and force it when the time isn't right, because you want to be balanced and you want to feel secure in what you're doing. And so for me, it's been a very slow burn, but I'm excited to keep the fire going.
That's awesome. And guys, we are live right now. There are people watching, tons of people giving you kudos and saying hi from New Mexico and hi from this and hi from that. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the chats and we will get to them. I did see one from Heath. He says, if you had to pick the greatest Led Zeppelin song, why would it be Tangerine? So there
That's
you
a
go.
great question. I don't know, the 12 string. 12 strings is a good move on that. Actually, the fuzz on the solo is not bad. That's kind of a unique bent, but nice, good question. Great question.
So keep them coming, guys. We got some time. First time caller, long time listener. You guys are funny. These guys are great. Okay, so let's fast forward a bit because
Yeah.
I mean we touched on School of Rock. I know another one that I looked into it was that Phantom of the Opera. When you were diving into the school musicals and like that was
Yep.
a big awakening moment for you too. What was it about that one that spoke to you?
Huge. Yeah, it's funny because it's also related to music. You know, this is a phantom of an opera. He's somebody who's so horrendous looking and so ugly and hideous, but he's a genius. He's a musical genius. And he feels so misunderstood and so broken. He's never been loved. And he falls in love with this young woman's voice. And he devises this, you know, half-baked plan to abduct her essentially and like make her his music. It's, you know, years later when I really broke down the plot of Phantom of the Opera, I was like, this is like kind of like not a great plot. It's like man is in love with woman, man steals woman, and then woman just ends up with the other man anyway. I don't know, but the music is great.
Mm.
And I loved it's funny, I had no experience with it. You know, it's so popular, but I'd never listened to it before it was posted that we were doing it. And I, there was a 25th anniversary recording on Netflix starring Ramin Karimloo, great Canadian Persian Canadian actor, who I was like, oh my god, there's a Persian actor playing the Phantom. That's amazing. Who has the same name as my uncle? Like it was an incredible moment for me. And that I think kind of just like I love those like little synchronicities that you don't see coming where it's like, oh cool, like, and his performance was just so mind-blowing to me. His voice, his acting choices, they were so powerful and passionate. And I love playing that role because he was, you know, at a 10 always. And that's kind of fun. You know, it's kind of fun to just like be really big. And so
Very
yeah.
nice. I love it, man. I love it. That's I can feel the passion coming through, and it's such a cool thing to see, and I can read it off you, and I think it's playing well to the audience, so they love it. So you finish high school, you get the off Broadway, Lost and Guided, an original
Yes.
play that was based on the real lives of Syrian refugees. So you do that. What was your New York experience like?
That was an incredible play, by the way. We got to perform that one for actual Syrian doctors who were living in New York City, and it was they were getting to see themselves on stage for the first time, and it was really incredible. That play also was the reason I met my wife. She wasn't in the play, but she lived 7 minutes. A 7 minute walk in New York is a very big deal from the theater. So essentially, I was living with my grandma who lives in Manhattan first. I had just graduated from acting school. I booked this play like a day before graduation. So I was like, cool, I'm going to move to New York and do this play. But the thing about doing New York theater, especially when you start out, you can't afford to live in New York on the money you make doing New York theater. It's just a fact. So luckily, I had my grandma who was living in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and she offered me a space in her living room on an air mattress, which was to me the greatest gift of all time. I was like, "You're telling me I can live in this city rent free?" It was such a gift. I got to spend great quality time with grandma until I met Sally, and then about a week after I met Sally, I was living with Sally at her place.
Hey,
Who she's now my wife. So
that's the New York miracle, right? Like that's the only in New York it happens.
only in New York, really, and it's just she has been the light of my life, and I don't know where I'd be without her, and I love her so much, and I'm so happy we got to get married during this crazy pandemic. It was like we had 30 people at our wedding, our nearest and dearest, and we made it happen right before we went back to shoot Legends season 6. It was kind of like, all right, I got the call we were going back, and I was like, it's now or never. Like you're not even going to be able to come with me to Canada if we're not married. Like,
Right.
so it was just this crazy thing that happened amidst all these big life changes. We also got married.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you know.
Thank you, thank you.
I have a thing. I met my wife as I was recovering in the hospital, and I was like, if you can meet under strenuous circumstances and survive through all the hardest things early, then the rest of it's a cakewalk. You're gonna be married 100 years. You know what I mean? Like it's when everything's roses and then it goes bad later. That's when it's hard. But
Totally,
um,
totally. And we had some tough times doing long distance, breaking up, all that. Because I moved out to LA and I lived in LA for a little under 2 years, and that's where I booked Legends. I
right.
booked Legends out of LA, and then so yeah, we've definitely had our share of tough times.
There you go. You guys are gonna make it happen. So like you said, you moved to LA. I know for a while you were working like doing yoga. I think that was you know making ends meet. In 2017, you got onto The Chosen, right? You played James. I know, and I want to
That's
fast forward.
2018 actually.
28. I'm sorry, 2018.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you got the Lifetime movie Killer Caregiver. You know,
Yep.
so you're building what was in that time. I'm curious, what was kind of going through your mind is like, all right, I'm here in LA, I'm getting these things. Like, how do I know when I've made it? Right? What is success for me in that time at that point?
I always viewed success and still view success to some degree as being able to support myself doing my art. That was if I can get paid enough money to do to be creative, in the ways that I would love to be creative. That's success to me. That's all I wanted. That was really all I ever set out to do, and it's still kind of like, as long as I can just keep sustaining this life where when I have time off, I'm able to keep creating. And right now, it's been in the form of music. There might also be a time where I write a screenplay, and I want to act in a screenplay that I write. Like, there's as long as I can be in that place, and then also go work some jobs, to keep the whole thing going. That's kind of what I was aspiring to and still aspire to. I had a sense that I was like, I don't need or want to be like super famous. Like, I live in a small town in Massachusetts, and like no one knows who I am. It's great. Like, I mean, I go and play open mics, and they know me as the guy who does the open mics, and then like sometimes it'll come out that I'm on a show, and they're like, "Oh, that's super cool," but like it doesn't affect my life in ways that I see these big celebrities. Like, it's a really hard, it's its own kind of hard, and it's not something that I think I was really ever interested in. And so I'm out in LA, and I'm just like trying to like make some money. I'm just I'm if I wasn't interested in making money, I would have stayed in New York and tried to do theater because we've already covered that, right? But I met a manager out of school. He came to a showcase and saw us act, and he said, you should come out to LA and I can start getting you some auditions. But the auditions weren't coming at first because I wasn't in SAG, which is the union, the
Mm,
actors union. Big hurdle for me. So it was even just like, can I get anything that can get me into SAG? Like that, like it's so funny how the goals change. How like first week I'm in LA, I'm like, I need a car. Like, how am I gonna get a car? That is all I need right now. And it's like, I need a job. I need a place to live. Like, and I just incrementally was like pushing forward, and then The Chosen got me SAG, and my very next audition was Legends, and I remember reading that breakdown, and I knew immediately that was a part for me. And circling back to my experience growing up in Massachusetts, being half Iranian, half Russian Jewish, also growing up as a Baha'i, which we can talk about too. It's sort of a unique religion that not a lot of people have heard of.
Mhm.
I knew Behrad was described as someone who is at odds with his traditional upbringing and like who he is right now, and he's kind of like on a path to discovering who he is. And I was like, oh, that, and they're looking for a Persian American. That is me. That is 100% me. No one else can play this part. And I sent in a self tape, and the next day I had a producer session callback, which basically means the casting directors picked 10 guys and is saying to the producer, hey, I think any 10 of these guys can do this job. Now it's up to you to pick. And they picked me. And I remember my manager called me. I didn't know that day. I had to wait a couple weeks. I remember my manager called me that morning and he said, hey, buddy, your life just changed. And I was like, yes, 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 yes,
Wow.
yes.
I mean that what a again, what a miracle story. I mean, no, again, I'm not knocking the work you've put in and but I mean there are people out there that are out there 10 years, 15 years and doing every little uh background extra gig they can get to build a resume. And I mean, you come out of the gate swinging. I mean, is it a testament to luck? Is it a testament to the hard work, the effort? Is it a little bit of everything? What's the secret that you just hit a home run right out the gate?
I don't know, but if you find out, let me know.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I think it's look. There's a couple of things that we can touch on that are definitely legit. One is that if this was 20 years ago, the only parts I would have been really going out for would be terrorists or, um, you know, uh, I don't know if that's entirely fair, but like it just the field has opened up. There's more stories being told
Sure.
about um, Middle Eastern, North African, South Asian people in the entertainment world. We call that Manasa, or sometimes Mena, which is just Middle Eastern, North African. But for me, I'm Middle Eastern, and for a while that's meant usually it's meant like a certain type of story, or they're functioning within the story as a certain kind of character. And um, I hit it at the perfect time. Like I graduated acting school 2017, so fall of 2017 was the Me Too movement,
Mm.
which is not really related here, but it just tells you, it gives you a context of like, I was definitely in some kind of postmodern world where casting and the entertainment industry was very aware, one would even say hyper aware of lending voice to those whose voices have otherwise not been heard from for a long
Yeah.
time. So, or really ever. And so I have to like give so much credit to the writers' room at Legends for deciding to create the character Rosario Tomaz, who Tala Ash just plays beautifully, and I was so pumped to get to play her brother. Like that was just like it was an incredible. I was like, oh, that's what this is. Oh, amazing. And I get nervous talking about it.
Is it? Do you get a sense of like the imposter syndrome of where like I gotta any day now they might tell me like, oh wait, this was a mistake. You don't belong here because you're not
Yeah.
because I feel that and I'm not even on TV. So
Yeah. Well, there definitely was this, like when they hired me, I remember like getting on set and like it was just very obvious how green I was. I really like I didn't know anything about anything. Like, I knew how to act, but I didn't know how to be an actor. I didn't know like how things worked on set or like what this was or what like there were so many like little words. Like even like I had known this, but this is just like an easy example is like crafty. Do you know what crafty is? Does that mean anything to you?
craft services maybe.
There you go. craft services.
Hey.
I didn't even know what craft services was. I was like, oh, the food? I was like, that. Why do we call it? Okay, it's crafty. Great. Like there's names for everything, and there's like jobs for everything, and all of that stuff. I had to learn very quickly because that's part of it. You're not acting in a vacuum. You're acting on a set where there's over 100 people, and each one of those people has a specific job, and it's helpful to know what's going on around you. It's just helpful to have that awareness. Yeah. And so I had to learn a lot of that very quickly. But people were very gracious, and I learned I had to teach myself to not be afraid to ask questions. Because at first I was like, oh, I'll just pretend like I know what this is, and it never goes well.
All right. Well, so we're at the big point, right? You book legends, Behrad Tazari. Tarazi. I knew I was gonna mess that up. I watched the show. I swear I do. And so far, I mean, obviously in the space, you've done 39 episodes. Your character has been in 39 episodes already.
That is crazy when you say that. Is that right?
That is correct. That based on the IMDb search I did, you've done 39 episodes.
No, that makes sense because 39 divided by 3 is 13, and it's been roughly 13 a season. Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
And so now, for those that don't know, your character comes in. Mm-hmm. When I say the last episode of season 4, I mean the last scene, the last minutes, the last seconds of season 4, the last couple of lines,
the last breaths.
and you basically are replacing another character. Per the story, she gets wiped from existence, and then your character comes in. I'm curious. I have so many questions just about that moment because it's hard enough, I can imagine, to come onto a set where you're not in the first season. This is you're joining the cast already. That's got to be hard enough. But now you're joining the cast in the last gasps of that season. And then it's like, all right, we're breaking. We'll see you guys in a couple. What is that like emotionally for you to be like, okay, I'm here. I did the thing. Okay. Oh, we're done. All right. Hopefully see you guys back. Like, what was that like for you?
It was super weird. It's funny. I remember we took a picture as a cast. I think it's floating around online somewhere. And I was just like, oh, I get to be in this picture. It was like a wrap picture, essentially. And it was like the main cast. Everyone was in it. Even, Dom, Katie, Jess, Brandon, Courtney, like everyone was in it. And they were like, yeah, you come in the picture too. Like, you were part of this. It was right after we filmed the walk-off, the famous Legends walk-off. Mm-hmm. And, I was part of that walk-off. So they're like, yeah, you come in too. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. And I'm like on the edge, and I'm like getting in there, and I'm like so pumped. And like, I see everyone's like doing like a finger sign. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I'll do some of my fingers too. So I was just like this. I was just like, or something. Like, I think I just like put like one finger out. And I saw afterwards that everybody else was doing like 4, because it was like, yay, season 4. We did season 4. And I'm just like, but then after the fact, I was like, it's okay, because that was my first season.
Yeah. I did one scene. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 lines, 1 scene.
That's so awesome.
When I tell you that I stayed up all night the night before practicing those 2 lines, I would not be lying. It was the kind of thing where I prepared and then I couldn't sleep, and I was like, well, might as well just like film myself doing this over and over again and see if I could find something else, some deeper layer.
Did you tell people like, okay, tune in? It's gonna be the last episode. Just you can come in like the last 5 minutes of the show, and then you can watch me.
Basically, and when it came out on Netflix too, I was like, season 5, episode whatever, 4 episodes, 16.
Yep. Go
to the end. But if you blink, you'll miss it.
Okay, so the other thing about that is in the chronologically of the show, right after that point, they did the whole big Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. I'm curious if you were kind of bummed that, like, because technically you were part of the series prior to that, but we don't see your character again until it was like the second episode of season 5, because the first one was the crossover. Were you kind of bummed that you didn't get to do the crossover?
Well, I wasn't the only one that didn't get to do the crossover.
Fair enough.
Which was fun. Like, there was that whole bit where where Nate,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, the crossover, yeah, I didn't want hard pass,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Kind of
So
busy. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like Bear, I was like, I don't want to do a crossover,
Sounds like a
this is
lot of work.
sounds like a lot of work, man. Like, why would I want to do that? Like, I'm already over here.
Yeah.
I was so pumped we got to do Spinal Tap as our first, or mockumentary style, because that's another one of those movies that really influenced me. I love all the Christopher Guest movies. I think they're hilarious and just so well done.
Nice, nice. So I'm curious, when you booked the thing, what was the kind of prep? I mean, because like you said, I really can't imagine anyone else playing this. It's like they wrote the part for you. So what was your prep work to get into character? Like, did you watch previous episodes to like learn the family history? Like, what was the prep work for you?
I definitely watched previous episodes to see, like, there were some episodes where they referenced Behrad and Zari's backstory and whatnot. But it was interesting because we were in a different timeline, right? So all of a sudden, I got to create a lot of my own backstory.
True.
And when I start doing that kind of work, I like to start with what is. I like to start like, well, what do I know here about this guy? I know that he's lying to his parents about being in business school and he's a time traveling superhero. And I love that one of my first episodes, we actually got to go back and meet my parents and like see where Behrad's from and see like how he get like little glimpses of how he's lying about, like how he's pulling this off. But my prep work was really like, as I took each episode as like a new building block to this character, as like, okay, great, or multiple blocks. I was like, I learned this and this and this, like, let's tuck that away and keep that. And like that just kept happening, and it really started happening in season 6,
Right.
and my second season on the show. And then even in season 7, there's been like other things like, are you caught up on
Oh yeah.
7?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
the Keeping Up with the Tarazis, the
Awesome.
reality show about my
Awesome.
own family that I was recast in, like, come on, man. Like, that's, in some ways, I'm like, oh, I wish I had known that as from grip, but that's just television, it's an evolving thing. So, and it's been cool. There's been some life imitating art imitating life happening, where I was having a conversation with a writer on set one day, and she was talking about like, yeah, like with Behrad, we're just wondering where we want to take him. And one of the things we're exploring is like, what if he starts becoming more sober and he's
Right.
not just a stoner all the time? And I was like, wow, it's so funny that we're talking about this, because like that's something that I've been exploring in my personal life as well. Because like, another element of when I read this breakdown, I was like, oh, they're looking for a Persian American stoner who's like, I was like, that
Check.
we have some familiarity with here. And I, it just, I think I reached this. I've throughout my my 20s, I've reached several points where I've wondered. I'm like, oh, I think it's a delicate balance. It's like any vice. It can become all consuming, and I think
Absolutely.
for me, like, I'm very passionate, and so like I tend to just like really go for things. And I think smoking weed has its place, but I've gotten into trouble with it before, where it's like, I'll
No, we lost him again. Oh, we were doing so good. We're gonna give it a minute because we're gonna get him back. Sorry, guys. If you haven't been here for the whole interview, there we go.
can't see.
I got you. I got you.
It's not me. I don't think it's
we
me. Okay,
we
we're
got
back.
you.
We're back. We're back. We're back.
Temporary pause. It was just a break. We're just cooling off.
And we're back. We hear from our sponsor?
Yeah, yeah. We did commercial break. We're good. It was.
I'm just gonna tell a brief story, because it's funny. Was I was getting a little too stoned, and it was the middle of the day, which is never a good idea. That's usually that if you're starting in the middle of the day, But it was during a quarantine, so there wasn't much to do. But I got convinced that I could like feel something in my eye, like I could feel like a grain of sand or something, when you feel that. And I was like, oh, I got to get this out. And then I swear, I started to feel like it was moving in my eye. And then I was like, it's a bug. It's a bug. I can feel the wings flapping. It's flapping in there. It's in my eye. It's burrowing into my brain. I was freaking out and I started punching myself in the eye. And then I realized, oh no, that's actually that's nothing. That's not even a grain of sand in there. It's literally nothing. And then things got very dark because I gave myself a black eye. It was like so sad that I had done that to myself, and it was all because I was like paranoid from the weed. I was like just like went too far with it, and yeah. So I'm starting to realize, maybe this isn't. And there's this great line in that episode, the reality TV episode, where uh, the the devil essentially is tempting me with the
Mm.
pot gummies, and I'm like, am I just gonna be that guy forever? Like that's like a genuine question. Like, is that just and the devil's like, well, the better question is, who are you without this? And that I think is like a really dangerous question because it starts to become a part of your identity. At least it has for me, and it's like starts to become like a very social thing, and it's like something you do with like very close friends and acquaintances. Even it's a good social lubricant, and it's like a way of like it's smoking anything in a circle with people is like a very it brings you together and into a circle. And so I was really like in my own personal life, like experiencing a similar thing that Behrad was with all of that. And it just felt super cool to be able to kind of tell that story in that ridiculous way.
Yeah. No, that's awesome when you get a chance to, like you said, life imitating art, art imitating life. That's such a cool thing. We do have a question from Instagram. Oh Jesus, this name. I apologize already. This is coming from Nishimuraliki. Oh God, I'm so sorry I butchered that. The question is, what have you found to be the hardest part of playing Behrad?
The hardest part of playing Behrad.
I mean, considering you guys are so much alike, I mean, what's the hardest?
Yeah. What's the hardest? I think the hardest parts of playing Behrad have been like the hardest parts that would be of like playing any role, which is just like filming in the wintertime in Canada overnight, sometimes like things like that. Like there's just I think filming anything is, especially a show like ours, where we have like a lot of exteriors, like we're not a sitcom where we're shooting inside all the time. We're
Right.
like out there, we're and yeah, we have like comfy coats and we have like a lot of hand warmers and whatnot, and they do their best. But it's just but I wanna see if I can come up with a better answer that's more specific to Behrad, because I think it's a good question. I I feel like sometimes when you're really close to a character, it's like anything where it's like it starts to become like right under your nose almost. And I'm struggling to think of a particular example. If I do later, I'll return to it. But there definitely have been times where I'll like read a scene, and at first read I'll like know exactly what the story is, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I got that. And then we'll go to shoot it, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, what is this again? And then I might struggle with it because I didn't do as much prep work as I thought I needed to. And then when I'm watching it later, I'm like, oh, that I knew that. I like froze on the day. It's like almost like maybe the hardest thing about playing Behrad has been like thinking that I had it more than I did. And like I probably in some cases could have done more prep work, except for the first night before the season 4. I was overkill. But in some cases, like reminding myself, like, there's still other like opportunities to explore. Like my favorite way to prepare is like to prepare all of the possible ways to do the scene that I can think of. And what started to happen was, because we were filming so much, where it's like you literally end shooting episode 1 finishes, let's say, on a Thursday, you start episode 2 on a Friday. Like we get weekends off, but it's just you go straight through.
Right.
And you know you have to learn too, as I think I've had to learn, that it's important to conserve your energy too. And so like sometimes I'll be like, okay, like I'm gonna kind of like coast through this one, and then sometimes I'm like, I wish I hadn't. I wish I had actually gone deeper with that. And I guess, okay, now I'm answering. This is a really helpful question for
There
me.
you
Thank
go,
you.
man. We're digging deep.
The hardest thing about playing Behrad has been letting go of the chances that I feel like I missed.
That's a life lesson right there, man. That's
Yeah,
that's deep. Oh
that's
my
it.
god.
You just heard like my whole like out loud analysis of that, and
That's
we finally
awesome.
got there.
We got to see the gears turning. We got to see the
Yeah,
process. We got through the
going
process.
down. Yeah,
That's awesome. Oh, I love. It's such a great, and I think that's just a great life lesson. Letting go of the things that we didn't do, right? The chances that we maybe missed, and not sticking to them. That's awesome.
you
It's
miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I
Wayne Gretzky,
I
Michael
love
Scott.
that. Such a great. God damn it, that's such a good pop culture reference. Okay, so we'll go a couple light questions, right? We went deep on that one. Um, what has been your favorite costume or favorite version? Because you've kind of played different versions of yourself, different
Yes.
different periods or different timeline, all these different versions. So what's been the favorite costume or version you've
I
played?
love the Western costume. Going back to the West, clearly I'm a fan of the West. I love playing corporate bro Behrad. That was a cool, with the wig and the Ted Baker suit. And I actually, that was a lot of fun. I really love. That was another one of my favorite episodes to do. Getting to play, excuse me, 3 versions of myself, and it's so crazy too, because I feel like if I didn't go to acting school, I could have become a version of that guy. Like I could have like taken all of my passion and my energy and just been like, I'm gonna make as much money as I can possibly can.
Yeah. And without the weed too, right? Because that, you have to be
Yeah,
driven and motivated. Doesn't play well.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
when are we gonna see the Beyrod action figure, the Funko Pop, the toys? Where the toys at, right? You're a superhero. Where the
I
toys at?
know, I know. I don't know. I have to ask. I have to see what's going on with that.
Man, the
We
fans
have we
want
have
it.
to find the right toy, the right. I'm gonna make a note of that. We'll
Yeah.
work on
Well,
it.
yeah. Your people will talk to my people. I got ideas.
Exactly.
You got to get the little
Perfect.
air. You got to get like an air pressure thing so that like, it blows the air and everything.
I'll cut you in 5%.
Let's go. All right. I bet. I'm in.
Every unit sold.
We'll get all two of them, and we're gonna be good.
Yeah.
What's I mean, we've talked about kind of the similarities, the differences, the hard parts of playing the character. Um, you know, Obviously a big thing, and I've heard you talk about this before, but I wanted to touch on it. A big part of being a part of this like superhero universe are conventions, comic cons, and those things, and because almost the entire length of your part of the show, it's been lockdown. What has that been like to
Yeah.
miss that?
Yeah, like the first season, we weren't even on the air yet. So, and there were some cons, but because I hadn't aired, there was no reason for me to go. And then, yeah, it's felt like I've gotten only a version of what this is. It's the pandemic version.
Mhm.
Liz, uh, who plays Spooner, has gotten a similar experience, I believe, where she joined in season 6. So that was totally in the pandemic times. I've gotten to do the virtual cons. Some of them, GalaxyCon has been great.
Sure.
But I'd love to meet fans in person. I've met a few fans out in the wild, which is super funny to me because the show has a good following, as an amazing fan base, but it's not like it's still a little surprising to me. I'm like, oh my, you actually like the show? You watch the show? That's amazing. Like it's cool. And I almost like it better that way. It's like then I know it's like real.
Right.
It's not just that like they've heard of it.
Mm.
So yeah, so I would love to do cons, when they come. I think they're starting to come back. They're starting to trickle in. I just saw that Maisie was doing a con in Kansas, so We'll have to see. We'll have to see when. Does anybody know out there? Anyone know of a con that they think I should go to? If
I
you do, let me
I grew up in New York, and I went almost every year. New York Comic Con, second biggest convention in the country, is my all time favorite. I mean,
All
it's
right.
I'm
Well, that's
biased.
perfect. I'll try and make it happen.
Yeah, man. We'll link up. We'll link up while you're there. We'll catch up and
Perfect.
do the thing. Let's see another question from Instagram. Legends Portal BR. I'm sensing a theme there. Wants to know, what are your expectations for Behrad next season?
First of all, I don't know anything about next season. I have no information. I've talked to nobody.
What would you like to see?
What would I like to see? I well, we just got arrested.
Yes,
We're
you
in
did.
time jail now. I think I would like to see Behrad go on a more like a real spiritual journey, like something that is like, because he's like let go of the weed, but I feel like, and he's come clean to his parents
Mhm.
about what I mean. I can't even imagine like what that conversation was like, but I actually have done that work, and it's like I think it was because of the way it was written and the way I ended up playing it. It's like it was one of those things where they're like, "Oh, we knew. Like, you think we're that stupid?" Like,
Right.
and I was
Right.
like, "You knew?" They're like, "Well, we just want like we want. It was important to us that you told us that you came clean and like learned to be honest." So,
Right.
and it's like a huge weight off my shoulders. And I feel like now he's ready to like one of my all time favorite shows is Rami on Hulu. Have you seen it or
Oh yeah.
heard of it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it that show to me is, especially season 2 when he starts working with Marshall Ali as the Sheikh. That I like. I don't. Obviously, this is a very different show. Legends is like a total. Legends is a superhero show.
A little bit.
It's a different. But like if a superhero show is dealing with superpowers, and Behrad has this power of like he's an airbender, he's a totem wielder, he can control the wind to some degree. I feel like his relationship with his powers have always been like he feels like he doesn't deserve it because he stole it and has been lying about it. And so now that he's come clean, it's like I want to see like what he can really do. Like I
Yeah.
want him to like, and I feel, bringing back to the spiritual journey, I feel like that's the kind of like Avatar: Last
Of
Airbender.
course. Of course.
Okay, like when Aang taps into the Avatar state, like he has to learn like about all the chakras. He has to like clear all and like stuff, something like that. But I would, I brought up Rami because I'm curious about Behrad's relationship with Islam, and I'm curious about like if because Legends I know like is willing to go anywhere, if like we could do some, and we've already been recognized by the Muslim Council of Cultural Affairs.
Wow.
I think I'm saying that right. For even having Muslim character, but we don't really like deal with it a lot. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, and they're Muslim. Like I think we can go further, and I think it would be so cool to tie that with like I'm picturing like wind power so extreme that he could like move the moon if he had to. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like
Sure.
really powerful. So
That's no, that's awesome. I'm I'm
I
I'm reeling it in right now.
yeah, good,
I'm
good.
letting
Reel
it
it in.
wash over me. I
Yeah,
love it. I want to see more with the relationship that's developing with Astrid.
Astra,
Astrid,
100%,
Jesus.
100% would love to see more. There's a bit of a debate whether it's Bestra or Berastra.
I think
Personally, I
Astra.
like both. Actually, I'm not gonna choose a side. I know better.
I like it. It's a good that's a good name. Um I'm curious, and I know we're kind of jumping back towards your first appearance, but it just hit me. Was there a backlash? Did you feel any kind of negativity because having Zari be such a beloved character, and then you come in and there was no real sense of like, oh, she'll be coming back. Like for the audience, the average audience member, it was like, oh my god, this guy's here, she's gone. Were people like bashing you, like, we don't like him, bring her back?
It was there was some, I wouldn't call it like direct bashing. It was just like like we want our Zari back. You know, like it definitely she was a beloved character, like you said. But I would say overall, the fans were pretty gracious. There was like a lot of like, well, I want to give him a chance. There was a lot of people who were just like, oh, I love him already. You know, it felt positive. It felt very positive. I definitely saw some negative, but it didn't feel directed at me. It was just like, I'm like the messenger almost. It's like, hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just doing what I'm told here, you know?
This wasn't my choice.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, we were almost at an hour. You have time for a couple more questions, and then
Hell
we'll.
yeah. Let's go.
Awesome, dude. You're a rock star. Um, I mean, we kind of touched on some of this stuff about what it's like the shooting life, and if the favorite stuff you've done. Have you kept any mementos from the show? Anything you've walked away with?
I've stolen nothing.
Nothing. Not a toothpick from set.
No, you don't want to steal toothpicks. You don't know where they've been.
Listen, it's okay. You won't. I promise you won't get in trouble if you.
I will show you one thing. I have to take my headphones out. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Like literally across the room.
Go for
Hang
it.
on.
Go for it. I'll keep the audience busy. This is great. Oh, he's bringing back something. What is it?
So this was a gift. I'm like putting it into the microphone.
Oh wow! Look at that. That's great for the 100th episode.
Yep.
Was that like a cast gift, or was that?
It was a gift. I think it was given to the cast and maybe some other people. I can't remember exactly who it was given to. But I can't even. I think it was provided by the network. Might have also no. I think it was Warner Brothers.
Okay.
I feel like it was Warner Brothers. Doing a terrible job of remembering that, but it's awesome. Like it's just like they did such a good job with it.
That is awesome, and yet there's no toys. I mean, this stuff it's perfect. It's perfect. The kids would line up around this block to get something like that.
Maybe like McDonald's toy, like a Happy Meal toy.
Something. Oh my god, I could just imagine the spoof that Legends would do on like the whole McDonald's. Like we're celebrities now. We have McDonald's toys. So speaking of which, we've seen the Legends do, man, there's so many genre kind of thing. We've done pirates, the Western, we've done the zombies. It's so, and obviously time travel, obviously that trope. And then this season, which I loved the kind of gag about like, well, what's it going to be next? And then it turns out to be robots, which I thought was such a good gag for that. What is there anything that you can think of that hasn't been touched on?
I feel the same way about music. I feel it's like what music is even left? Like it's like we're all just doing variations of what's been done before. But yeah, okay, we did aliens, we did historical figures, we did magical creatures.
You've been to hell multiple times.
Been to hell and back. And then robots. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're arrested and we're going to like time jail or I have no idea, but I imagine we're going to some kind of like school, like correctional school for like, if you guys want to be time travelers, like you got to learn how to do it the right way. I don't know. I'm slipping into like a Stallone. Maybe like we'll get Stallone to like come in and guest for a few eps, but yeah. My apologies to Mr. Stallone.
Well, you're never working with him again.
Yeah, let me think. Maybe it's like really like mean professors or something. I don't know. Like they're like some, I don't know. We'll have to
I could see like something video games, right? Something augmented reality. I can't remember.
Like Free Guy?
Yeah, something along those lines, right? You guys are all, I mean, obviously we gotta wrap up the prison thing, but at some point you guys are sucked into a simulation of a video game.
Did you watch Black Mirror?
Of course.
Do you remember the episode of the two friends who were in the video game?
Yes.
That one hit deep.
That was a little uncomfortable, but the good kind, where you start thinking about things. And you go,
that's most of those episodes, but yeah, that one was like particularly.
Great
but
actors
anyways,
too.
yeah.
Go watch Black Mirror. No. So I'm curious, and again, I mean, who am I to judge? But I think you're doing it right in the sense of like, you hear, celebrities all the time like, oh, I hate paparazzi and everything, but then they like go out to like Nobu or whatever it is, and when it's like, well, like if you just lived a nice life and you bought it, you live in North Dakota somewhere or Utah or something like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's gonna bother you. But I'm curious, the profession you've chosen, the acting thing, there's a lot of critics. There's a whole job field of criticism, right? They're literal critics, and they're not always the nicest when it comes to like superhero genre stuff. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts about the people that say, "Oh, this is less than right. This isn't award worthy. This is whatever kind of media." What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I recently met someone who is the significant other of a dear friend of my wife's, and he is an incredible guy. He works in Web3, which is like blockchain technology. So like
Mhm.
wicked smart, as we say around here near Boston. And he was like, I'm a huge fan of Legends. I'm a huge fan of the show. I was like, seriously? He's like, I wanted to buy a T-shirt with your face on it. I couldn't find one. We need to get the merch.
Get the
He
merch.
agrees. And I was like, okay, that's super weird, but I love that. And okay, so you're a fan of the show. I was like, what? Why do you watch the show? Because I just, I'm always curious, like, because I feel like the demographic of the show is like everyone. I've known like all different kinds of
Mm.
people. I was like, what do you love about the show? He was like, I love it because I like I can like turn my brain off when I watch it, but I can
Yeah.
still engage with it and like have fun with it, and it doesn't take a lot of work to follow what's going on. Which is funny because if you ask like my grandmother, she's like, I don't understand what's happening. I'm like, I know it's a lot of information at once. A lot of it, I totally get it. So, but
Yeah.
for him, he's like, yeah, I can like turn my brain off and like smoke a little weed and like enjoy myself for 42 minutes and not have to worry about anything else.
Mm.
And I'm like, you know what? Like that. I was talking to another friend of mine relating the same story to him, and he was like, dude, sometimes that's the best TV. In fact, sometimes that's the only TV I even have time for. It's like that or nothing. Like I don't have time for the prestige drama
Right.
sometimes. Excuse me. Sometimes I need that like hour to like zone out. And I am so happy to provide that for people in the way that we are, because I feel like that kind of TV has been around forever. That's like what TV sometimes is, and we need it. You know, it's like really important, I think. But I just love how we're doing it because I feel like we're very self-aware. And I think the AV Club has been super kind to us. I love reading their reviews of us. They have all these like little like things at the bottom of um like favorite line reading or like MVP of the episode. Like it's really like it feels very like fun to, of course I like seeing my name down there. Of
Of
course I
course.
look every
Of course.
time. And yeah, it's been an interesting time for media in general, where I feel like there like are no more rules about like what is like considered art anymore. Because look at TikTok. Look at like what these creators are doing on TikTok and how many people they're reaching, and how um, different everything is. It's like there are no more like I went down a rabbit hole the other day of a woman who's a beekeeper, and she's like just like touching all of these bees, and I
I've
was
been there.
watching that for yeah, and it's like like what do critics have to say about that? Like it's all part of it. We're all like part of, we just, ours, we have to shoot it and it takes a lot longer, and there's like all these elements involved, but at the end of the day, all of these media companies, social media companies, they're competing for eyeballs and time, and like I think there's something to be said about like a lot of people would rather watch beekeeping TikTok videos than maybe the next Sopranos, which, I'm more into that. Like I like the prestige drama kind of
Sure.
stuff. Also, like I'm a big comedy guy. I'm kind of newer to the superhero world personally. Like I wasn't watching a lot of super. I love The Dark Knight. That movie changed my life for sure. But other than that, like I wasn't familiar with the Arrowverse even at all. I was vaguely familiar with the Flash. And then I was like, oh, there's this whole like Arrowverse. I was fascinated by it, and so it's just been such an honor to be a part of it, and I hope we get to keep doing it.
Oh yeah, we all hope you get to keep doing it, and
Yeah,
I echo everything you said in that there is time for the 1883, right? The Yellowstone and the
yeah,
deep, Sons of Anarchy, where we're gonna get into drama. But there are times when it's like, man, the world is hard enough. The life is hard enough. Like, can
yeah,
we just sit back, enjoy, be silly for a second, and have fun with it? Like,
yeah,
I love that about because I do love the Flash and I do love the other shows, obviously the very, very serious tone and evil and what you guys do just seems like so much fun. It seems like the kind of show where everybody's just like, let's just be silly and let's like have fun with it. It's enjoyable. From and speaking again as just a TV watcher, it's fun to watch you guys look like you're having fun.
oh,
And
I love that. I love that, man. And we are we this past season we had a ton of fun doing all the groups, like the ensemble work, especially in the beginning. Like that was super cool. And I'll also say like what's cool about our show is that, like you said, the world is so dark, and just so crazy to like really think about. And sometimes it's nice to watch people save the world, right? Like that's part of the appeal of a superhero show. And what I like about our show is that I feel like I'll speak for myself. Like I feel like I approach this as if like me, a regular guy, all of a sudden got a superpower and now all of a sudden is a part of this time traveling superhero team. Like, what? This is my life now.
Joe.
And I like wanted to give people like an experience where like they could feel like, oh, like this is probably what it would be like if I got this like superpower, and because we're not perfect, we're not Superman, we're not Spider-Man, we're the legends of
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we joked about it earlier about like these are guys that really shouldn't be allowed to do the things they're doing, but
They have no business. No, I mean they got arrested. That's how bad it got. I
they're
mean,
but they make it work. They make it work like a weird, twisted, messed up family, but they make it work. A couple more quick ones, and
please, yeah.
the I'm not gonna ask you like who's your favorite cast member to work with. Let me instead ask you, who do you wish you had more screen time with? Who would you like to do more scenes with?
Who would I like to do more scenes with? I feel like I get to do a fair amount with everyone. I really loved working with Matt this year. Like we had some really great scenes. There was that one scene in particular where he is like hyping me up to go be the evil version of myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I can do this, man. And he's like, I believe in you. And I'm like, okay. If you say so. And I loved shooting that scene. I loved watching it. So yeah, I think I hope to get more screen time with Matt.
Okay. All right. What's something that you think would surprise most people about kind of the behind the scenes of the show, whether it's the making of it, the personalities, whatever. What's something surprising you think for most people?
Surprising. I mean, there really is no drama, like none. We're like the chillest cast, which everybody keeps telling me how rare that is. Like the guest actors who come on
Mm.
are like, oh, this is like really different. This is really chill. And I'm like, how could it be different? I can't even like imagine another version. Why would people? It seems like so much work to have beef with people.
Right. No, that's I mean that's awesome. Um, okay, I mean, like, I feel like we've asked you everything we can possibly ask you. This has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for dealing with the tech issues we've been having, but
We'll
you've been
never
awesome.
forget it.
This
Oh,
is one for the
yeah.
books. Let me give you the last few minutes here. Is there anything you want to promote? Is there anything you want to talk about? How can people follow you on social media? Like, people want to know how to get more of you.
Yes, please. Yeah. So best way to follow me is on Instagram. It's just my name, Shayan Sobhian, at in the beginning of that. So if you're watching this or listening to this, you probably know how to spell that. So that's good. So you can find that there. That has there's a link tree in my bio that leads you to a couple of things that have just come out. One is my latest single called Tony. That's the first line is my wife has got a nice friend named Tony. It's a true story. So take a listen to the
Beautiful
song.
song. Beautiful.
Thank you,
Beautiful
thank you,
song.
thank you. Produced in this very room. So there's that, and then there's also a short film that I recently released that I co-wrote with my best friend. He directed and I starred in it. It's about the first time Bigfoot makes a friend, played by me, and it's called "Does Bigfoot Dream of Flowers?" And that's a great short film that we're really proud of. That I would love for as many people to see as possible. So you can check that out there as well. Other than that, I've got some odds and ends that you'll be able to find organically. But those are the two things that are very recent, and would love for people to check out.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll even, share the links to that stuff on our social media so that we can get the word out there and let people know how to find you. I've got nothing left. I think you are incredible. I thank you so much for your time. Guys, gals, everybody. I mean, what's left? What's left to say, man? This has been absolutely outstanding. I'll let you say goodbye to the audience real quick, and then we'll toss it to a break.
Goodbye, audience that I can't see, but I love. Thank you so much for coming and for your great questions. Seriously, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. And now you're a friend of the show forever, so we have to have you back in the future and talk all the more exciting stuff that's going to come out for you.
Please,
Awesome.
can't wait, man. Super great talking to you.
All right, guys. This has been Shayan Sobhian. All right, I said it. I'm good at this
You're
now.
good.
I'm getting
You're
good at
good.
this. Guys, check them out in Legends, and hopefully we'll be hearing news about the next season coming very soon. And we'll be more back with more after this. Let's take a quick break. All right, shots. Ah, what a night. What a night. What a night. Um, hmm. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. This is not how I envisioned the first episode in the new studio going, if I'm being 100% honest. But, but, uh, he was incredible. Cheyenne was amazing. Radar, I know you were there. I know
Yes,
you were listening in.
I
Um,
was. That
what
was so weird, dude. Because he popped in, and then you went away, and he couldn't see me. I was like, "Hey, look at me on radar." Nothing. I was like, "All right, bye, see you. I guess I wanna hang out on the
Uh,
radar then."
but all that aside,
Oh,
how awesome was he?
dude,
I
dude.
mean,
You know how the first thing when he popped off that he'd been watching our show, and I'm like, "That's why I didn't wanna touch the radar."
he's
He's like,
like,
did
I don't know
research
who
on
Radar
you.
is.
He did research on you, son, and I was like, "This
Yeah,
is either gonna go really, really well or really bad," and it
yeah.
went great. That
It-
was so oh my god, and this is just like I said, every week, dude, everyone is surprising to me how cordial and nice, and they they love us and want to be here. That still blows my mind. They're like, "Why would you
Giving.
take time out to talk
Giving
or
is
be
the
part?"
word that keeps coming to my mind. They're so
Yes,
giving of themselves.
absolutely.
Um, Everyone is so open and honest, and I mean, we cover some. I mean, week to week, we sometimes cover some pretty heavy stuff.
Yep,
Mental
and
health and drug abuse and all these different things. So
yep,
to be so honest and to be forthcoming and to like, he seems like just a guy's guy, and I
yep,
love that.
absolutely. Absolutely. It
Love that about him.
seems like someone you just put in your group chat and be like, "Hey, look at these funny memes we got today, boys."
Yes.
No, he was great. Absolutely awesome. And God, yeah, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag
Hashtag
blessed.
blessed.
Yeah, and he did. He shoot. We just hung up, and guys, he shot me a message, and he says, "Thanks again. It was super fun being on the show. I can't wait to share it tomorrow." So again, that's an extra
I
step.
feel badly.
Yeah, I he was so good to us and so nice. I
Mhm.
wish. I mean, we talked about the show, right? You can't have regrets. You got to let go about the things that didn't happen. But I wish I gave him a better. Like, I feel like I let him down.
Oh.
Cheyenne,
Well,
if you're
and
out there, I'm sorry.
between that and my mouth and the things that fall out of it.
Joe says, "Hey, technical shit happens. Don't worry about it." I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, Corporal. Nobody
And
says
it and it
we
and
broke
it and
Facebook tonight.
it's always an adventure
It's
because
never boring.
we're constantly trying to upgrade and progress and make things better. We're trying to make our product better for you. And so sometimes when we do that, it makes things better. Sometimes it don't.
Yeah,
And it's
two
learning and
steps
it's fine.
forward, one step back.
Sometimes 5 cents for but
You know,
hey, it's whatever, man. It's
yeah.
cool. Next week you'll probably have all your stuff hung up
Yeah.
and
Next week, bigger, better, back to normal.
yep.
Heath says, "This is the greatest show in the universe." Man, thank you. Look, I appreciate that. Um, from the bottom of my heart. I really do. I really do. I, Radar knows this. My family knows this. I put a ton of time
Yep.
into putting forward the best product I can possibly give. I want the guest to feel like that was the best interview I ever did. I had fun doing it. Um, I want the audience. I want you, the audience, to you learn something. You had fun. You laughed. You cried. You felt an emotion with us. That's my goal each and every week, and putting on the best possible product. Um, and yeah, I'll be honest. I wasn't feeling good today. You gotta put a brave face. You gotta pop some pills. Had a drink and um, try to.
Uh all right, dude.
Sorry about it.
That's all right.
But yeah, no, I'm so appreciative. Really, Cheyenne was incredible.
Absolutely
What
incredible.
a what a amazing story to know. Like, okay, I want to do this. I do this, I do this, I do this, and now, you know, he's a
Yeah, I'm here.
legend. He's a
Yep,
literal legend. And
absolutely.
and then to come on our show, God.
Well, and then I really liked when he was like, you know, what 10, 15 years ago, he would have been typecast as a specific character.
Yeah. I as he
And
was
now that's
talking,
not that way. That's awesome.
I thought about it, and like his, he told so, oh, the terrorist, whatever. And I was thinking, like, yeah, you get the taxi driver, you get the bodega corner store guy,
Yep.
right? The quickie mart, so to
Mhm.
speak, and now he's a superhero.
Yep.
He's. I mean, there's got to be so for all the things he talked about. He saw School of Rock, and that changed his way of thinking, and he saw Phantom of the Opera. Like he's now that for a whole generation of kids that are
Yep,
growing up
absolutely.
and being like, "Oh shit,
Absolutely.
I can be a superhero,"
Yep.
and that's awesome. I'm all
Well, that's
for
like when we
inclusivity.
saw Fat Thor. When I saw Fat Thor, I was like, I could be a superhero.
I
I got
could
the same body as
totally
a
be a
superhero.
fat Thor. Yep.
Yo, I could be Fat Thor. That's my cosplay right there, buddy. Fat Thor.
Yeah.
Shit. I got that on lockdown, son.
All right.
But no, this great. And I really enjoy that when he's accurate and real and kind of raw with us and
Yeah.
well, with us like I did anything with you. And so it's appreciative and
Yeah.
I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And even if that doesn't mean a whole lot, but Radar does. Thank you
And as an
for coming on and being
interviewer,
real with us.
I can say, when I ask a question and you can see he thinks about it, right? He doesn't just spew out the first random like, "Oh, oh, I'd love to work with so and so," but like he really I could see that he put thought into each one of his answers and he
Yep.
really wanted to be as we saw him break down that one question and we got to watch him go like a level deeper and a level deeper
Yep.
and a level deeper and a level deeper until he got to the end of it. It was great. Watch the process in action. Um,
You know what I don't want to get?
what's
This
that?
sounds shitty. Don't hear me out on this. I almost don't want to get like super A-listers on ever. Because you watch like hold out here.
I
You
get
listen to me.
yeah.
You watch when a movie's getting ready to come out and they're doing their press tour, right? And they go on Conan, they go on whatever. Okay. It's the same canned answers like every time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As cool as I think it'd be to have like Scarlett Johansson on the show, is she just going to give us some stupid canned answers that her publicist says are okay to whatever questions? Like that's not cool. I don't want to do that. I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to be someone chill, kind of. You know what I mean? So we can get someone on here and talk about their struggles with addiction or their family members who have struggled with whatever, depression or suicide or whatever.
Yeah.
And we talk about cool things and it like Corporal Carter said, real people, right? They act like real people. They come on our show and we can relate to them.
Yeah.
We can be real with each other. And it's not, we don't get a list of questions from somebody and they don't give us a list of answers. It's
Mhm.
just it's a honest conversation. And I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like one of my fears. I know when we had Louis Anderson coming on, that was something I was like, I don't want to just,
Yeah. Yeah.
be whatever. And he was cool as
Yeah,
fuck.
same
And
with
I'm
Clark
really,
Gregg when we had
yep,
Agent
same
Coulson.
deal. Hmm.
I'll be honest, one time in my dealings with working with PR people and agents and managers and all that, one time I had a PR person come back to me and they're like, "Oh, he'd love to do it. Da, da, da. Send us the questions." And I was like, nope. And they're like, well, we need to see the questions so we know was it. I was like, look, this isn't gotcha journalism. I'm not going to ask him anything inappropriate or try to put him on the spot with, so, what do you think about the president? Like, we're not going to do that. We're just going to talk about his
Right.
career. And they're like, well, and I said, no, I'm not gonna. I don't need you to prep answers,
Right.
right? I'd
Oh,
rather have that pause where he has to think about an answer
yep.
and have dead air because it shows that he's really thinking versus like I ask a question and he answers. And I ask a question, he answers. And I ask because he's
Right.
prepped for it. You know,
Yep.
this show should be. Have you watched our show? It should be spontaneous because at any
Yep.
moment we could disconnect. So
Exactly. We want to get in what we can whilst we
yeah,
can.
I don't want
We
to
don't
do.
need to
Yeah.
low budget, low
And
budget.
sometimes I think of questions in the moment. I do have
Yeah.
notes. I do have things I'd like to cover, Sometimes I think of things in the moment when they spur a thought, and if I have to preload questions, then I got to stick on script, and I don't that doesn't feel
Yeah,
right to me.
that's not. We don't want to do. That's not fun for anybody.
So maybe there's a
It's really
reason
not.
that person hasn't been booked on our show. Just saying.
Oh,
Uh,
Samuel L. Jackson can wait because that's.
so you hear that, Tom Cruise?
In all
uh,
fairness, buddy, you can say motherfucker on here. We won't get mad.
that's true. One of the few places you'd be able to
Yep.
speak freely. How funny would it be is like if he came over, he goes, guys, that's all an act. Like I really don't. I'm actually rather eloquent when I speak, and that whole character of Samuel L. Jackson is just that's the act,
Not
right?
me. That's not me, buddy.
See,
I
that's
just
I abhor that kind of language. I find it
and he has
very.
like a completely different voice.
I
It's
find it
completely
very
different.
peculiar. That
Yeah.
you're like what?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Kind of a soprano, kind of like way up there. Oh, that'd be fun crazy, wouldn't it?
Anyway,
Oh.
Mr. Radar,
Yes.
would you care to tell the fine folks at home what they can look forward to here at WTF Nation Radio?
Well, on top of great guests, you can expect on Tuesdays to have CQ, him, the pop culture warrior, and me, the unpop cultured tard, back here. Okay. Now, Wednesdays, though, you can expect nothing because it's a Donza day, a day of no scheduled activities. We will have the night off. We will be hanging out with our friends and family and encourage you to do the same. Now, Thursdays, Swords time. Ice and Spanky being swords. They're going to tell you about all kinds of cool sergeant-y things. Army, big Army, National Guard, reserves, retirees, housing, DFAS, you name it, they cover it. That's their bread and butter, and they love bringing it to you. Now, Friday Night Freedom. They will be here. Kaz and Pookie will bringing you all kinds of crazy, just crazy bullshit. And they have great stories, and they are great storytellers, and it is a great show. And you should be there. You will love it. Now, that brings us to the weekend. Saturday on the Sunday. Those are days of no scheduled activities. Again, those are weekends, man. You need at least a 2-day weekend. That's how we roll. We need to reset, work on the tech, Avi, and then, we work on a little bit more. Now, Monday, we come back from that. Same as you go to work on Mondays, we come back to work on Mondays. And we love starting off the week with the Monday edition with Ice. Current events, all kinds of fun shit. There's a little spat going on still in Europe. We might talk about. Hopefully, we can be done with it sometime soon. But if not, get on YouTube, watch T-72 turrets going pow. You're getting smacked by javelin, son. God, that's fun to watch. That shit never gets old. Did you see that fucking Havoc that got shot down today? That or alligator or whatever the fuck, crocodile or whatever the fuck, the two-rotor one. Go
Yeah.
back and forth. Got shot down by a fucking javelin. God, it was fun. God, that was a good missile shot. Anyway, sorry about it. Fun to watch. Get on there. It's go crazy. And then Tuesday. Let's see what goes on Tuesday. Oh yeah. I get off work, come home, get in my bunker for CQ and Radar for Pop Culture Warrior. Every night.
Outstanding.
Every Tuesday night.
For most of Tuesday night while we're on air, in between sessions of where we take a break off air. Guys, this has been a wonderful episode. You've all been awesome. Thank you for hanging in there with us. I promise you that we're gonna have this worked out. We're gonna
You know what? Maybe not.
maybe not. No,
No,
absolutely.
hear me out, dude. Hear me out. Remember,
Absolutely.
we're just talking about like the script, the canned answers.
Mm-hmm.
This makes it organic.
This is real. We're
This is
real people.
You know how when people drive their old shitbox cars and they're like, yeah, it makes it like it's more of an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. God forbid you get in a car, push the fucking button, and start it, just drive the fuck to work like I can in my brand new Subaru Crosstrek.
Okay. Anyway, we'll be back next week, and we'll have hopefully worked out our little bugs. We'll have music and things like that.
You got little
Um,
bugs, dude. You might need to get the shampoo for that shit.
next week. Oh, next week, we do have a guest. Mark
Yeah, Heath,
Proch.
Gorilla Radio.
Mark Proch. Mark Proch.
There
P
he
R
goes.
O
See, there
K
goes the
S.
name again.
Yeah. How
The
would you
names.
pronounce PROKSCH? KSCH. Kish.
Prokes.
Proch. Proch.
Prokes.
Yeah. So Mark Proch will be on the show next week. Very, very, very funny man. Actor. I mean, he's done a billion things. Most recently, I think he's been on What We Do in the Shadows, the comedy vampire show. And he plays the energy vampire. He's going to be hilarious. Might be only on the phone. Trying to convince him to be on camera, but I think he has something that he's doing that he can't show what he looks like, and so they're asking to do it via audio only. So we will accommodate as we need to, but
Absolutely will.
but yeah,
Because
we'll,
that's what we do
that's what we do.
organically.
That's what we do, guerrilla style. All right, guys, this has been another awesome episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and yeah, we'll see you next week. I'm gonna go off in a couple hours and watch Moon Knight episode 2, and Radar's gonna catch up. Radar's gonna catch up at some point.
I hope I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
And we'll talk more about it next week. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Shots.
Bye, Radar.
Say goodbye, Radar.
Bye, Radar.
Oh, God. I'm just cutting the feed.